The second half was something else that came out of a jam when we were in the first bit of writing, wasn't it?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, it was.
No, it wasn't.
Well, who fucking cares? It is now.
Moonlight was one of the first bits of music that were around of the new batch, and I just found some vocal samples from Bulgaria originally and manipulated them and messed around with them. And then it was actually parked as an idea for quite a long time until the latter stages of the record, where we felt that it would be kind of the perfect intro to the album. And we felt it especially worked well with exits, going into exits, and that it felt like going into a mirage, or like it's one of those kind of cheesy 60s TV effects where you're going into the alternate world and everything goes wavy. Felt like that.
Yeah, Exits was one of the first ones we wrote at the beginning of the writing sessions, I think.
Yeah, it was like it was essentially a groove. We were jamming something else, and then we half speeded the groove, and then we were like, oh, that sounds pretty chunky.
Yeah.
And then we just played it all afternoon, and then the main melody and everything was written in that first day. Like most of it was basically written on the first day.
Yeah, and then like some synths were added to it, which changed the flavour a little bit, and then we changed a few other things. But yeah, it's pretty faithful to its very original version.
We had quite a few versions of it in the studio. We approached it two different ways, and then I think the end product's like it is a Frankenstein between the two approaches. Whiting's came from a loop that I had. I think we'd been writing other stuff, and I'd kept that one quite quiet. I hadn't showed it to guys, and then in the room it was like, let's just try this, and then we just started banging it out, and Jack started playing fast, energetic beat over it, and it just felt great. It felt like a sugar rush. It felt like a kind of physically gratifying banger, nice and short and simple.
Really simple, yeah.
I'm curious lyrically about this one, in degrees. You can't hear that, can you?
Well, you probably can.
Everyone heard that.
Let's make sure that's that.
Lyrically, I wanted it to have a kind of feeling of separation and glass doors, and the difficulty of communication and using. I feel like it's a white song, like it's got like a brightness, a glass-like quality to it, which I wanted to convey in the lyrics. And essentially, it's about when you're aware of a relationship slowly slipping away, incrementally, bit by bit. There's no big dramatic moment, but it's through the slow drifting apart, and also that when the actual phrase in degrees also got me thinking that it could work on a kind of dual level about the environment in a way as well. And I liked the idea of the song being the type of track that will bring people together on the dance floor. It'll be a sweaty, communal, direct moment of connection, and yet the lyrics are about social dislocation, or about being alone in a way. And I like the paradox of that. Sad bangers, yeah, are us.
The first half of Syrups was originally presented, basically finished by Yannis, I think.
Yeah, it was. I learned how to mess around on Logic, and somebody had lent me a bass guitar, and I just played the groove over that drum loop.
Yeah, which so it was pretty amazing to hear that for the first time. And then I think we recorded most of it again, apart from some of the synths. And then the second half, that's another Frankenstein job. The second half was something else that came out of a jam when we were in the first bit of writing, wasn't it?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, it was.
No, it wasn't.
Well, who fucking cares?
It was.
is now.
It was. Well, essentially, the way you described it before. Can anyone hear that? did you pick that up? What was that?
That was this thing.
That was you. It was. Well, it's essentially like, the first half was this quite pristine computer recorded version, and the second half is basically the band after a few drinks trundling into the practice room and sort of assaulting it. That's how you described it before.
Yeah, sure. I guess I can't remember.
On the Luna was a riff actually that had been hanging around since What Went Down. It was originally intended for that record, but we didn't really get it together at the time, and it was something that we just sort of parked. And then, but it was definitely like, we wanted to revisit on this one. And I think on that we enjoyed putting in all the small mathy details and the rhythms and the small transitions, and we wanted it to be like just a chunky nug, like a proper nugget of a track. Chunky nug or Russian salad.
That was all done by me. No, quite the opposite. That was all done by Yannis.
That was another outcome of me not really knowing what I'm doing so I was trying to learn how to record myself in a slightly more 21st century way rather than just loop pedals and cassettes and stuff, which had driven us all crazy for the last decade. So trying to learn Logic, and I sort of stumbled across that marimba loop that is the main thread through the track. And then we jammed it a couple of times in the room, and we added and subtracted layers as we went, and I worked on it in Paris with some producers there, and got to play fretless bass on it, which was a first. They're quite naff.
Yeah, they're slightly Alan Partridge.
Surf Part 1 is basically like an excavated fragment of a track that's on the second part of Everything Not Saved Will Be Lost. And I was trying to cut little vignettes, trailers basically, for the Exits video. And got to go through the album siphoning bits off. And then that bit just felt great as its own moment and a perfect... We were looking for something to help the flow and to complete the arc of the flow on the first album, and that felt like a perfect transition between Cafe and Sunday. So we thought it would be nice to just have this little moment.
Sunday was around for a while. I think it was knocking around on the last record in almost the same form. I think we kind of ran out of time with it on the last record, and this time round got properly back into it in the rehearsal room, and then in the studio it very quick. Yeah, but it has this warmth to it and this depth of sound. It seemed like almost maybe to our detriment, and we had to take a lot of stuff out of it, I think, but it was very easy to put a lot of stuff onto it, and everything sounded good. So it became very, very deep and
became unwieldy,
quite bulbous.
Yeah, we had to strip it out a lot. In some ways, it's weird. You write certain songs at a certain time, and for whatever reason, they sometimes don't fully come together. And I feel like with that one, I'm really glad it didn't. That it came together now and that we didn't complete it before, because I feel like lyrically it taps into all of the wider themes on the records, and it's much more of it's a song that reflects the current preoccupations, rather than if it had come out 4 years ago, it would have felt like a bit of an anomaly in a way. So it's one of those where you feel like there's almost that it was fate that we didn't finish it before. That was Jimmy sent me that track, pretty much completed all the chords and the synths and everything. We did them in Germany, right?
Yeah.
And he sent them to me, and it was an autumn day, and I was hungover, and I looked out my window into my back garden. There was a wounded fox in the garden, and then I called the RSPCA to ask them what to do about it, and they just said give it some food. So I had a pepperami in my house at the time. I don't know why, but I went and gave it a bit of pepperami, and I went to the studio, and I was feeling tender, and there was something about the weather on that day. It was like one of those like wet autumn days, and then all of the lyrics just came about in that first take, and I just recorded it into a microphone not dissimilar to this one, and then it was just there. It was done.
It has like the creaking chair on it and stuff.
Yeah.
Which I really liked. It's not the perfect vocal take or sound, which because the music's so like lush in it, it worked really well together.
Yeah, we felt like it was the perfect closer, and that it acts as a kind of almost like a end credit screen at the end of a movie, or like a cliffhanger. And then we wanted to leave the album in that kind of resigned place, so that when album 2 comes out, it's a response to that. And there's a big contrast with the way that album 2 starts compared to the way that album 1 closes.